Do you believe 10 small words can change your life? At first, I didn't. I thought English was too big for me, too fast, too difficult, too heavy to carry. I felt lost when people spoke. I felt afraid when I tried. I thought maybe English was not for me. But then something simple happened. I learned 10 words, just 10. And from those 10 words, I built my first sentences. And from those sentences, I found my first confidence. That was the moment my English story truly began. Maybe you feel the same right now. Maybe you think you are too slow. Maybe you feel that English is a mountain too high to climb. Maybe you feel alone when you cannot understand. I know that pain, because I was there. But here is my promise. If you stay with me today, you will see how 10 little words can open a big new world. You will see how simple steps can grow into powerful sentences. And you will feel that your own English growth story can begin today, even if you start small. Comment if you've ever felt this way. I want to know if your heart also beats fast when English feels too hard, because you are not alone. Stay with me until the end, and you will not only hear my journey, you will feel your own journey begin. Chapter 1. The day English felt too big for me. I still remember that day as if it was yesterday. I was sitting in my small room, staring at an English book that looked so heavy, so full, so impossible. I opened the first page and saw long words, strange letters, and sentences that felt like puzzles with no answers. My heart sank. I felt a voice inside me whisper, "This is too big for you. You will never make it." And for a moment, I believed that voice. English felt like a mountain in front of me, a mountain so tall I could not even see the top. I looked at the words and thought, how can I ever climb this? How can I ever speak like those people in movies, in songs, in classrooms? Every time I tried, my mouth stayed quiet. I was afraid to open it because I thought people would laugh at me. I thought they would hear my mistakes and judge me. So I stayed silent. I wanted to speak, but silence was safer. At school, I remember the teacher asking me to read. My hands shook. My voice trembled. My eyes ran fast over the page, but my mind was empty. Other students laughed when I made mistakes. Some smiled politely, but I could feel the pity in their eyes. That moment burned inside me. I thought, I will never be good enough. I walked home slowly, with my head down, feeling small. That was the day I truly felt English was too big for me. But here is the strange thing. Even with all that fear, there was also a tiny spark inside me. A very small voice that said, "Don't give up yet. Try one more time." I could not hear that voice clearly because the louder voice of doubt was stronger. But it was there. And now when I look back, I know that small spark was the beginning of change. You see, English is not only about words, it is about emotions. It is about fear, hope, dreams, and belief. When you start, it feels like the whole world is against you. Your tongue does not listen. Your brain gets tired. Your memory forgets. and you think, maybe this is not for me. But let me tell you something, my friend. Every person who speaks English today once stood where you stand now. They also felt English was too big. They also wanted to give up, but they didn't. And that is why they grew. I want you to imagine this with me. Imagine a child who looks at the ocean for the first time. The ocean is so big, so deep, so endless. The child feels small and afraid. But then, the child takes one step. Just one. A small foot touches the water. The ocean is still big, but the child is not afraid anymore. That is what learning English feels like. The first day is scary, but the first step is the most important. That day when English felt too big for me, I cried. Yes, I cried real tears. I felt weak. I felt lost. But when my tears dried, I made a small decision. I told myself, I cannot learn everything today, but maybe, just maybe, I can learn something small. That small decision saved me, because when I chose small, I discovered that big things are only a collection of small steps. When you look at English today, you may feel the same fear I felt. You may think, this is not possible for me. My brain is too slow. My time is too short. My life is too busy. But listen, you do not need to climb the whole mountain today. You only need to take the first small step, and once you do, you will see that English is not as big as it looks. It is only big if you try to carry it all at once. But if you take it piece by piece, it becomes light. So let me ask you now, have you ever felt like I did that day? Have you ever opened a book or listened to a movie and thought, this is too much, I cannot do this? If yes, then I want you to know you are not alone. I was there. Many of us were there. But the story does not end there. That feeling of being small is not the end. It is the beginning. Because from that small place you can grow. The day English felt too big for me was also the day I discovered my courage. I did not know it at the time, but that fear was my teacher. That fear pushed me to find another way. That fear prepared me for the journey that turned 10 words into 100 sentences. And that is why I tell you today with all my heart, if English feels too big for you right now, don't run away. Stay. Face it. Cry if you must, but don't stop. Because one day, this big, heavy English will become your friend. One day, you will look back, just like me, and smile at the memory of when you thought it was too big. Chapter 2. 10 words that looked small but felt powerful. After that heavy day when English felt too big for me, I made a promise to myself. I said, I cannot take everything at once, but I can start small. And that small start was 10 little words. At first, they looked so tiny, so simple, almost like nothing. But those 10 words became the key that opened the door to my new life in English. The 10 words were I, you, he, she, it, we, they, am, is, are. Just 10. Nothing difficult, nothing long, nothing strange. I wrote them in my notebook in big letters. I looked at them again and again. At first I thought, how can only 10 words help me? English has thousands of words. This is too small. But the more I looked, the more I felt something inside me. I felt a small light of hope. Those words looked simple, but they were powerful because they were alive. They could move, they could connect, they could build. I realized that with just these 10 words, I could already make my first sentences. I could say, I am happy. I could say, you are my friend. I could say, he is strong. For the first time, I was not just reading words. I was using them. They were mine. They were my voice. The first time I said out loud, I am happy, I actually smiled. It felt real. It felt true. English was no longer only in books or songs or classrooms. It was in my mouth. It was in my heart. That small moment gave me a joy that no big grammar book ever gave me. It was the joy of finally speaking. But let me be honest with you. Even with those 10 words, I had doubts. Sometimes my brain told me, this is too easy. You are wasting time. Other times it said, this is too small. You will never grow. But each time that voice spoke, I reminded myself of something important. Small steps are the secret to big journeys. A baby does not run first. A baby takes one step, then another. English is the same. You begin with small words. You build small sentences. And slowly, you learn to run. I practiced those 10 words every day. I whispered them in the morning. I repeated them while walking. I wrote them again and again in my notebook. And every time I repeated them, they became stronger inside me. They stopped being just words. They became my tools. Tools to build sentences, tools to build confidence, tools to build a new future. I want you to imagine this. Imagine you are building a house. You cannot build the roof first. You cannot decorate the windows first. You must start with the bricks, small bricks, one by one. At first, a single brick looks like nothing, but when you place many together, you see a strong wall, and then you see a home. My 10 words were my bricks. They looked small, but together they became the strong wall that held my English journey. Do you see the power here? You do not need 1,000 words today. You do not need to be perfect today. You only need your 10 words, your bricks, your start, and from that, everything else will come. I know you might feel impatient. You want to jump to fluency. You want to understand movies, books, and fast conversations. But trust me, my friend. If you rush, you will fall. If you go step by step, you will rise. My 10 words taught me patience. They taught me that even the smallest progress is still progress. And when I held on to them, I finally felt strong. So let me ask you, what are your 10 words? Maybe it is I, you, go, come, eat, drink, happy, sad, yes, no. They can be anything. But choose them, hold them, use them, repeat them until they feel like a part of you. Because once you have them, you will see what I saw. Small words are not weak. They are powerful. They are the beginning of sentences, the beginning of confidence, the beginning of change. The day I found those 10 words was the day English stopped being a mountain. It became a path I could walk on, a path that looked possible. And I promise you this, if you choose your 10 words and use them every day, you will soon feel what I felt. You will feel English move from the page into your life. You will feel the first spark of growth. Those 10 words may look small, but believe me, they are powerful. They can open doors you never thought would open. They can give you a voice you thought you lost. They can change your story. And one day, you will look back at your own 10 words and smile, because they were the first step of your beautiful English journey. Chapter 3. My first sentence and my first smile. The moment I made my first English sentence is a memory I will never forget. It was not a long sentence. It was not special or difficult. It was simple. Just 3 words. But those 3 words felt like gold. They were mine. They came from me. And when I spoke them out loud, I smiled in a way I had not smiled for a long time. I remember sitting at my small desk with my notebook. On the page were my 10 words. I kept looking at them, trying to connect them, trying to make them alive. For many days I only repeated them one by one, like a list. I, you, he, she, it, we, they, am, is, are. They felt important, but they were not sentences yet. They were only pieces. And then something happened. I looked at the word I. I looked at the word am. I looked at the word happy. And I joined them together. I am happy. I said it softly at first, almost in a whisper. I am happy. The words felt strange in my mouth, but also warm. I said it again, louder. I am happy. And suddenly, I was happy. Not only because of the sentence, but because of the feeling it gave me. For the first time, I was not just studying English. I was living it. That one sentence changed something inside me. Before, I always thought English was about rules and grammar and books. But that day I saw it was about life. A sentence was not only words, it was an expression. It was me telling the world how I felt. I was no longer just a learner. I was a speaker, even if it was just one small sentence. I remember I could not stop repeating it. I am happy. I am happy. I am happy. Each time my smile grew bigger. Each time my fear grew smaller. It was like breaking free from a cage. My silence had been the cage, and that little sentence was the key. But I want to be honest with you. After that first sentence, I also felt afraid. A thought came into my mind. What if I forget? What if I make mistakes? What if people laugh? The old fears tried to come back, but I reminded myself of the power of that moment. I told myself, even if I forget, I can make it again. Even if I make mistakes, I can learn again. Nobody can take away this smile. When you make your first sentence, it is like taking your first step as a child. The child does not walk perfectly. The child falls, stumbles, cries. But the parents clap because the step is more important than the fall. In the same way, your first sentence is more important than your mistakes. Because once you take that step, you are no longer the same person. You are now someone who speaks. Do you see how powerful this is? I did not know 1,000 words. I did not understand long conversations. I could not follow movies or books. But I had one sentence, one living, breathing sentence. And with that, I felt like the door was open. I want you to think about this right now. What could be your first sentence? Maybe I am tired. Maybe I am hungry. Maybe you are kind. It does not matter how small it looks. What matters is that it is yours. When you speak it, you feel alive. And that is the beginning of fluency. Fluency is not only about speed, it is about connection. It is about using the words you know to say something real. That night, I even said my sentence before sleeping. I whispered, I am happy. And I closed my eyes with a smile. I felt a strange peace inside me. I felt that English was no longer too big for me. It was becoming my friend. Slowly, yes, but surely. My first sentence gave me courage. It gave me the belief that more sentences would come. It showed me that English was not something outside of me. It was something inside me now. And every day, I wanted to add one more. That is how my growth began. So, my friend, if you have not yet made your first sentence, today is the day. Do not wait for perfect grammar. Do not wait for more words. Take the ones you have and connect them. Say them out loud. Feel them. Smile with them. That is the first step to your new English life. I promise you, one day you will look back just like me and remember that first sentence. And you will remember the smile it gave you. And that smile will be the start of everything. Chapter 4. Speaking out loud. When nobody was listening. After my first sentence, I felt excited but also nervous. I wanted to speak more. I wanted to feel the same joy again. But I was still afraid of people. I was afraid they would laugh. I was afraid they would not understand me. So I made a decision. I would speak out loud, but only when nobody was listening. At first, it felt strange. I closed the door to my room. I looked around to make sure I was alone. Then I started to say my sentences. Slowly, carefully, sometimes too quietly. I felt silly at first, like I was talking to the walls. But the more I spoke, the less silly it felt. The walls never laughed at me. The mirror never judged me. My empty room became my safe classroom. I remember standing in front of my mirror one night. I looked at myself and said, I am happy. I am strong. I can learn. My voice was soft, but I could hear it. And hearing my own voice in English gave me power. It was as if the words came from my heart and returned to my ears, telling me to keep going. Speaking when nobody was listening became my secret practice. I spoke to my books. I spoke to my chair. I even spoke to my cup of tea. I would say, "You are hot. You are my drink. I am thirsty." The cup never answered, but I always smiled. Because in those small moments, English was not a subject anymore. It was a part of my daily life. But let me be honest. There were days I felt foolish. I thought, why am I talking to myself? Why am I speaking to objects? Sometimes I almost stopped. But then I remembered something important. Nobody is born fluent. Every child speaks to themselves first. Every child repeats simple sentences before talking to the world. So why should I be ashamed? I was not foolish. I was training. I was building my voice. The truth is, speaking out loud when nobody is listening is a gift. It is practice without fear. It is freedom without judgment. You can make mistakes, forget words, and still feel safe. And the more you do it, the stronger your voice becomes. The first time I tried, my voice was weak. But after many nights of practice, my voice grew louder. My confidence grew stronger. I want you to imagine this with me. Imagine a singer who practices alone before singing on stage. The room is empty, but the voice fills the air. The singer is not waiting for an audience. The singer is training the heart. You are the same with English. When you speak alone, you are not wasting time. You are building your stage. One day, when people are listening, you will be ready. One night I was walking home, and I suddenly whispered in English. I did not plan it. It just came out. I said, "The sky is dark. The street is quiet." Nobody was around, but I felt proud. Because for the first time, English came naturally. It was not forced. It was alive. And that came from all those hours of speaking when nobody listened. I want to ask you now, do you practice out loud when you are alone? Do you talk to your mirror, your notebook, your own heart? If not, I want you to start today. Do not wait for a partner. Do not wait for a perfect moment. You can be your first partner. You can be your first listener. And when you do, you will see the same change I saw. The day I started speaking when nobody was listening was the day I stopped being silent. I stopped waiting for permission. I gave myself permission. And that was powerful, because from that day, English was no longer something I studied. It was something I spoke. So, my friend, do not be afraid of empty rooms. Do not be afraid of mirrors. Do not be afraid of your own voice. Speak out loud when nobody is listening. Speak until the words feel natural. Speak until you smile. Because one day, That practice will give you the courage to speak when everybody is listening, and that day will change your life. Chapter 5. The Magic of Repeating Until It Felt Natural. When I first began speaking English, every word felt heavy in my mouth. My tongue did not know where to move. My brain felt slow. My heart felt nervous. Even simple sentences like, "I am happy" or "You are my friend" made me sweat. I thought, if small sentences feel this hard, how will I ever speak big ones? But then I discovered something that changed everything for me. It was the power of repeating. At first, I did not understand why repeating mattered. I thought repeating was boring. I thought I should always learn something new. But soon I learned the truth. Repetition is not boring. Repetition is the bridge from fear to fluency. Each time I repeated a sentence, it became easier. Each time I said it, it felt lighter in my mouth. Each time, my brain began to believe, yes, I can say this. I remember one night I sat alone with my notebook. I wrote the sentence, "I am strong." I read it once. It felt strange. I read it again. It felt a little better. I read it 5 times. It started to feel normal. I read it 10 times. Suddenly it felt natural. I smiled and whispered, "I am strong." For the first time, I did not only say the words, I believed them. That was the magic of repeating. The more I repeated, the more my fear disappeared. In the beginning, every time I spoke English, my heart raced. I was afraid of mistakes. But when I repeated a sentence many times, I did not feel afraid anymore. It became my sentence. It became my second nature. I could say it without thinking. I could say it without fear. I want you to imagine this. Imagine a dancer learning a new move. The first time, the dancer is stiff, unsure, maybe clumsy. But after 10 times, the body begins to remember. After 50 times, the move looks smooth. After 100 times, it looks natural. People think the dancer was born with it, but no. It was repetition. You and I are the same with English. Our tongue is like the dancer's body. It needs practice. It needs repetition until the words flow like music. Yes, sometimes I got tired of repeating. Sometimes I thought, why am I saying the same thing again and again? But then I remembered how good it felt when the sentence finally became easy. That feeling of ease was worth the effort. It was like unlocking a door. Every repetition was a key. And the more I turned the key, the wider the door opened. There was one sentence I loved to repeat. I can do it. I said it in the morning. I said it on the bus. I said it before sleeping. At first, it was just practice. But soon, it became real. I started to believe not only in my English, but in myself. Repetition did not only train my mouth, it trained my heart. It gave me strength when I felt weak. I want you to ask yourself now, what is one sentence you can repeat today? It does not have to be long. It can be as simple as, I am learning. Say it 5 times. Say it 10 times. Say it until it feels natural. Because the truth is, English becomes natural not by magic, but by repeating. Every time you repeat, you are building a new path in your brain. You are teaching your tongue a new rhythm. You are making English a part of your life. Repetition was my secret weapon. It was how I turned 10 words into 100 sentences. It was how I stopped being afraid. It was how I became ready to speak to real people. Without repetition, I would have stayed stuck. With repetition, I moved forward. Slowly, yes, but surely. So, my friend, do not be afraid of repeating. Do not think it is boring. Think of it as your key to fluency. Each time you repeat, you are getting stronger. Each time you repeat, you are teaching your heart not to fear. One day, you will notice that a sentence you once repeated many times will come out of your mouth naturally, without thinking. And in that moment, you will feel free. That is the magic of repeating. It changes fear into comfort. It changes silence into speaking. It changes a learner into a speaker. And if you hold on to this magic, nothing can stop your English growth. Chapter 6. When 10 words became 20, then more. In the beginning, I only had 10 words. They were small, but they felt powerful. I used them to make my first sentences. I repeated them every day until they felt natural. But something surprising happened. After some time, my heart wanted more. My mouth wanted more. My brain was ready for more. That was the moment when 10 words slowly became 20, and then more. At first, it was not a plan. I was not thinking, I must learn 10 new words today. It happened naturally. One day I was reading something simple and I saw the word eat. I remembered it. I added it to my notebook. Another day, I heard the word drink in a song. I wrote it down too. Suddenly I could say, I eat rice. I drink water. And that made me smile again. Because now my English was not just about feelings. It was about actions. This was when I began to understand a secret about learning. Growth does not always come in big jumps. Growth comes in small steps. One day, one word. The next day, another. And slowly, the small steps take you far. 10 became 12. 12 became 15. 15 became 20. I did not notice at first, but my list was growing like a tree. Of course, it was not easy all the time. Sometimes I forgot the new words. Sometimes I mixed them up. There were days when I felt stuck and thought, why can't I remember? Why is my brain so slow? But each time I felt that, I reminded myself of something important. Even if I forget today, I can learn again tomorrow. Forgetting is not failing. Forgetting is part of learning. I want you to picture this with me. Imagine planting a small seed. At first it is tiny. You water it every day. You look at it and wonder if it will ever grow. For many days, nothing happens. But then, one morning, you see a small green leaf, then another, then another. And one day, the small seed becomes a strong tree. That is how my words grew, slowly, quietly, but surely. I also began to notice something else. The more words I learned, the more sentences I could create. With just 10 words, I made a few sentences. With 20, I made many more. It felt like building with blocks. The more blocks I had, the more I could build. My English house was getting bigger.
With just 10 words, I made a few sentences. With 20, I made many more. It felt like building with blocks. The more blocks I had, the more I could build. My English house was getting bigger. My confidence was getting stronger. One of my happiest memories is when I made a full sentence with my new words. I said, I eat bread. I drink tea. I am happy. It was so simple, but it felt like magic. For the first time, I could describe my real life in English. My breakfast, my feelings, my world. And I thought to myself, if I can do this with 20 words, what will happen with 50? What will happen with 100? That thought gave me energy. But let me be honest with you. There were also moments of impatience. I wanted to run faster. I wanted to know everything quickly. I compared myself to others and felt small. But I learned to stop comparing. My journey was mine. My 10 words were mine. My 20 words were mine. And each step was a victory. I want you to know this, my friend. Do not be ashamed of small numbers. Do not think 10 words are nothing. Do not think 20 is too little. Each word you learn is a seed. Each seed can grow into a sentence. Each sentence can grow into a story. And one day, that story will be your life in English. So celebrate your words, even if they are few. Smile at your list, even if it looks small. Because small things become big. 10 becomes 20. 20 becomes 50. And one day, without even noticing, you will look back and see how far you have come. That was my experience. 10 words felt like the beginning of a new world. 20 words felt like I was walking further on the path. And each new word felt like a light, shining brighter, showing me the way forward. And I promise you this. If you keep going, your list will also grow. Your sentences will grow. And your confidence will grow with them. Chapter 7. From Words to Sentences. My first real step. There comes a moment in every learner's journey when single words are not enough. At first, I was happy with my 10 words. Then I grew to 20. I carried them like little treasures in my notebook. I repeated them every day, and they felt safe. But there was a voice inside me that wanted more. It whispered, words are good, but sentences are life. And that was true, because words alone are like bricks lying on the ground. Sentences are when the bricks come together to make a home. The first time I tried to connect words into a real sentence, I was nervous. I sat with my notebook and stared at the words. I eat bread. I thought, can I join them? Can I really make something? My hand shook a little, but I wrote it. I eat bread. Then I said it out loud. It was simple. It was small. But it was real. It was alive. It was a sentence. And in that moment, I felt something shift inside me. I was not only holding words anymore. I was building with them. I cannot explain the happiness that small sentence gave me. It was like the first step of a child who finally learns to walk. A child may fall after 2 steps, but the first one changes everything. My sentence was my first step. I eat bread. I said it again and again, smiling. Then I tried another. I drink water. Then another. I am happy. Suddenly, my words were no longer silent. They were telling stories about me, my life, my world. But it was not always smooth. Sometimes I forgot the order of words. Sometimes I said, I bread eat, or I water drink. At first, I felt frustrated. I thought, maybe I will never get it right. But then I laughed at myself, because even when I was wrong, I was still learning. Even a broken sentence was better than silence. Even mistakes meant I was moving. And with practice, the sentences became clearer. I discovered something beautiful. Sentences gave me power. With a sentence, I could tell the world who I was. I could say, I am a student. I could say, I am tired. I could say, I like music. These are not just grammar exercises. These were real pieces of my life. I was no longer learning English as a subject. I was using English as a voice. Do you see how important this is, my friend? Words are like paint. Sentences are like the picture you make with the paint. When I had only words, I felt like I was carrying colors with no canvas. But when I began making sentences, I saw the picture of my life appear, and that picture made me proud. Of course, there were days I felt stuck. I wanted to make longer sentences, but my words were few. I wanted to say more, but my mouth refused to move. On those days, I reminded myself of one truth. Fluency is not about speed. It is about courage. Each simple sentence I made was courage. Each time I spoke out loud, I was winning. I want you to imagine your own first step. Maybe it is I am learning. Maybe it is you are kind. It does not matter how small it looks. What matters is that you create it, that you own it, that you say it with your heart. Because once you do, you will feel the same joy I felt. You will feel English become a part of you. The day I built my first real sentences was the day I stopped feeling like a student and started feeling like a speaker. I may not have been fluent. I may not have been perfect, but I was speaking, and that was enough. That was everything. So remember this. Words are only the beginning. Sentences are the true step forward. When you make your first sentences, you are no longer looking at the mountain. You're climbing it. And one day, when you reach higher, you will look back at that first small step with a big smile, just like I do now. Chapter 8. The Struggle. Forgetting, mistakes, and feeling stupid. When I started making sentences, I felt excited. I felt like I was finally moving forward. But soon I met the hardest part of my journey. I started forgetting. I started making mistakes. And worst of all, I started feeling stupid. Those feelings were heavy. They almost made me quit. I remember one day when I tried to speak with a friend. I wanted to say, I am learning English. But in the moment, my mind became empty. The words disappeared. My mouth stayed closed. My face turned red. I felt so embarrassed. I thought, why do I forget so easily? Why is my brain so weak? That night, I could not sleep. I kept hearing the silence of that moment. It made me feel small. Another time, I tried to say, I drink water. But I said, I water drink. My friend laughed. They did not mean to hurt me, but the laugh cut me deep. I smiled on the outside, but inside I felt broken. I thought, maybe English is not for me. Maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I will always sound raw. For many days after, I was afraid to try again. This is the truth of learning English. It is not only about words and grammar. It is about emotions. You forget, and you feel angry with yourself. You make mistakes, and you feel ashamed. You hear others laugh, and you feel stupid. These feelings are real. I know them, because I live them. But here's what I also discovered. Forgetting is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you're learning. When you forget, your brains try to remember. It is working hard to build new paths. Each time you forget and try again, the path becomes stronger. Mistakes are not failures. Mistakes are teachers. Every mistake you make is a lesson that no book can give you. And feeling stupid, that is only fear speaking. You're not stupid. You are brave. Because only brave people stand up and try again after they fall. I want you to imagine a child learning to walk. The child falls again and again. Sometimes the child even cries. But no one calls the child stupid. Everyone claps when a child stands up again. Why? Because the falling is part walking. In the same way, your forgetting and your mistakes are part speaking. They are not the end. They are the road. I began to change my mind. Each time I forgot a word, I told myself, this is practice. Each time I made a mistake, I told myself, this is a teacher. Slowly, the shame became smaller. Slowly, the courage became bigger. And each time I stood up again, I felt stronger. There was one powerful moment that I will never forget. I was speaking to someone, and again I made a mistake. I mixed up the words. I laughed at myself and said, sorry, I am learning. And the person smiled and said, that's good. Keep going. That moment gave me hope. I realized that people respect learners who try. They do not need you to be perfect. They need you to be brave. I want you to hear this clearly, my friend. You will forget. You will make mistakes. You will sometimes feel stupid. But do not let those moments stop you. They are not signs to quit. They are signs to continue. They mean you are moving forward. They mean you are growing. They mean you are alive and you're learning. So the next time you forget a word, do not feel weak. Feel strong. Because you're practicing. The next time you make a mistake, do not feel ashamed. Feel grateful. Because you just found a new lesson. And the next time you feel stupid, smile. Because the truth is, you are not stupid. You are learning a whole new language. And that is one of the bravest things a human can do. I promise you, one day you will look back at these struggles and you will not feel shame. You will feel pride. You will say, yes, I forgot, but I remembered again. Yes, I made mistakes, but I learned from them. Yes, I felt stupid, but I did not quit. And that will be the reason you succeed. So do not fear forgetting. Do not fear mistakes. Do not fear feeling stupid. They are not your enemies. They are your teachers, your guides, your stepping stones. And if you keep walking, step by step, sentence by sentence, you will grow stronger than you ever believed. Chapter 9. How I Turned Mistakes into My Teachers. For a long time, I thought mistakes were my enemy. Every time I said something wrong, I felt weak. Every time someone corrected me, I felt embarrassed. Every time I forgot a word, I felt small. I believed mistakes were proof that I was not good enough. And because of that, I was afraid to open my mouth. But one day, I learned a secret that changed everything. Mistakes were not my enemy. Mistakes were my teachers. I remember one moment clearly. I wanted to say, I like music. But instead I said, I am like music. The person I was speaking to smiled and asked, You are music? I laughed, but inside I felt my face burn. I wanted to hide. Later that night, I thought about it again. At first, I felt shame, but then I realized something important. Because of that mistake, I learned the difference between I like and I am. That mistake gave me a lesson I would never forget. And from that day, I never confused them again. That mistake became my teacher. The more I looked back, the more I saw the truth. Every mistake I made left a mark in my memory. When I said something wrong, I remember it more clearly than when I only studied from a book. Mistakes were painful, yes, but pain makes lessons stronger. They were like little lights, showing me where I needed to grow. But accepting mistakes was not easy. My heart wanted perfection. I wanted to sound right all the time. I wanted people to think I was smart. So every mistake felt like a cut. But slowly, I began to change the way I saw them. I told myself, if I never make mistakes, I will never learn. If I never speak, I will never grow. My mistakes are not the end. They are the beginning. I started to notice something else. People did not hate my mistakes. Most people respected me more because I tried. They smiled when I corrected myself. Some even helped me, gently showing me the right way. I realized that the only person truly judging me was myself. And once I stopped judging myself so hard, the fear began to fade. I began to treat mistakes like friendly teachers. Each time I made one, I asked, what can I learn from this? Instead of crying, I started laughing at myself. Instead of quitting, I repeated the sentence until it felt right. Each time I did this, I grew stronger. One day, I made a very big mistake in front of many people. For a moment, I felt the old fear come back. But then I smiled and said, Sorry, I am learning. And the people around me clapped. They told me I was brave. That moment showed me that mistakes are not shameful. Hiding is shameful. Staying silent is shameful. But speaking and learning, even with mistakes, is powerful. My friend, I want you to see your mistakes differently from today. Do not run away from them. Do not hide from them. Welcome them. They are part of your journey. They are signs that you're trying. They are proof that you are moving forward. Imagine walking on a road. Every mistake is a stone. You can trip over it, or you can step on it and rise higher. The choice is yours. I promise you, one day you will look back at your mistakes and smile. You will remember the funny sentences, the wrong words, the red cheeks. And instead of shame, you will feel gratitude. Because those mistakes taught you what no teacher ever could. They gave you experience. They gave you confidence. They gave you growth. So the next time you make a mistake, do not say, I am stupid. Say, thank you, teacher. Because your mistakes are not here to stop you. They are here to guide you. And if you listen to them, they will carry you from 10 words to 100 sentences, and from fear to fluency. Chapter 10. The day I surprised myself with a conversation. There was a day in my journey that I will never forget. It was the day I surprised myself. It was the day I had my first real conversation in English. Not a single sentence. Not just practice in my room. A real talk with a real person. And it happened in a way I never expected. I remember I was standing in a small shop. I only wanted to buy something simple. In my head, I prepared the sentence. I repeated it many times quietly. I want water. That was all I wanted to say. Just 3 words. But when the shopkeeper smiled at me and asked, "How are you?" my heart jumped. I was not ready for that question. For a second, I froze. My brain shouted, "Say something, say something." And then, without planning, my mouth opened. I said, "I am fine. Oh, a water, please." It was simple, but it was a conversation. He asked, and I answered. I asked, and he gave. I walked out of the shop with the bottle in my hand and a strange feeling in my chest. I could not believe it. I had spoken. I had answered. I had not been silent. My fear had not won. On the way home, I smiled to myself. I thought, did that really happen? Did I really speak? It was not perfect. My voice was shaking. My accent was heavy. But it was real, and it was mine. For the first time, I felt that English was not only in my notebook or in my mirror. It was outside, in the world, alive in a conversation. That small moment changed me. Before, I always imagined conversations as something big and scary. I thought I needed hundreds of words. I thought I needed perfect grammar. But that day, I learned the truth. A conversation is only two people sharing. It does not have to be perfect. It only has to be honest. And even a few sentences can make it real. Of course, I was nervous. My hands were shaking. My heart was fast. I wanted to run away. But when the words came out, I realized that fear is like a shadow. It looks big, but it cannot stop you if you keep walking. The shadow disappears when you face the light. That conversation was my light. I want you to imagine your own first conversation. Maybe it is with a shopkeeper. Maybe it is with a friend. Maybe it is with a stranger. It does not matter how small. What matters is that you speak, even if it is only one sentence, even if it is only a greeting. That one step can give you more confidence than 100 hours of silent study. After that day, I began to believe in myself more. I told myself, if I can say this, I can say more. I started greeting people. I started asking small questions. Each time, my conversations grew a little longer, and each time, I surprised myself again. The surprise gave me energy to continue. I will not lie to you. Some conversations did not go well. Sometimes I forgot words. Sometimes people did not understand me. Sometimes they answered too fast, and I felt lost. But I remember my promise to myself. Mistakes are teachers. Forgetting is part of learning. Feeling nervous is proof that I am growing. So even in those moments, I smiled and tried again. That first conversation showed me something important. English was no longer just a dream. It was possible. It was in my mouth. It was in my life. And if I could do it once, I could do it again. The thought gave me courage that no book could give me. My friend, maybe you're still waiting for your first conversation. Maybe you are afraid, just like I was. But let me tell you this. Do not wait until you are perfect. Do not wait until you know everything. Your first conversation will come when you dare to open your mouth, even if you are not ready. And when it happens, you will surprise yourself too. The day I surprised myself with a conversation was the day I felt alive in English. It was the day I stopped being only a learner and started being speaker. And that is why I believe your day will come too. And when it does, you will never forget it. You will carry it in your heart forever, just like I do. Chapter 11. Why 100 Sentences Changed My Confidence Forever. There came a time in my journey when something powerful happened. It was not about one new word. It was not about one small conversation. It was about 100 sentences. 100 small, Simple sentences that changed my life, my confidence, and my future. They were not long. They were not perfect, but they were mine. And when I reached that point, I knew I was no longer the same person who once feared English. At the beginning, even 10 words felt heavy. Then 20. Then 50. I thought 100 was too far away, almost impossible. But I kept going, step by step, word by word, sentence by sentence. I did not notice the growth at first. But one day, I looked at my notebook, and there they were. 100 sentences, shining on the pages like little stars. I remember touching the notebook with my hands. I smiled and whispered, "This is mine. I built this." For years, English had felt like something far away, something I could not reach. But now, it was in front of me, in my writing, in my voice. 100 sentences meant 100 doors to express myself. I could talk about my life, my feelings, my world. I was no longer silent. The magic of 100 sentences is not just about the number. It is about the confidence they give you. With 1 or 2 sentences, you feel limited. With 10, you can try. With 50, you feel progress. But with 100, you feel free. You feel that English is no longer just practice. It is communication. It is connection. It is part of your daily life. I began using my sentences everywhere. At home, I spoke to myself. "I am hungry. I want food." On the bus, I whispered, "I see people. They are talking." In a market, I practiced, "How much is this?" Each time I used a sentence, I felt stronger. And soon, I noticed something incredible. Sentences were mixing together. From 100, I could make 200. From 200, I could make more. It was like building blocks that never ended. Of course, there were struggles too. I forgot some sentences. I confused words. Sometimes I said them too slowly. Sometimes people did not understand me. But the difference now was my heart. I did not give up. I did not feel small. Because I knew I had 100 more to try. One mistake did not matter anymore. My foundation was strong. I want you to imagine this. Imagine standing on a bridge. When you have only 1 or 2 sentences, the bridge feels weak. You are afraid to step forward because you think it will break. But with 100 sentences, the bridge feels strong. You can walk with confidence. You can look ahead and say, "Yes, I can cross." That is what 100 sentences gave me. They gave me a strong bridge to fluency. There was one day I will never forget. I was talking to a stranger, and, without thinking, I used many of my sentences. I said one, then another, then another. I surprised myself again. I realized that English was now inside me. I was no longer planning every word. I was living the language. That day I felt free. My friend, maybe you're still at 10 sentences. Maybe you're still at 20 or 30. And maybe you think 100 is too far. But I promise you, if you take one step every day, you will reach it. And when you do, you will feel the same change I felt. You will not only learn English, you will feel English. You will live English. And your confidence will rise higher than you ever imagined. 100 sentences are not just practice. They are proof. Proof that you can grow. Proof that you are capable. Proof that you're no longer silent. And when you reach that point, you will know deep inside, nothing can stop you now. Chapter 12. Your 10 words. Your 100 sentences. Your story. Now that you have walked with me through my journey, I want to turn the light to you. Because this is not only my story. This can be your story too. My 10 words became 100 sentences. And those sentences gave me confidence. But the truth is, you could do the same. You could take your own 10 words and turn them into your 100 sentences. And one day, you will tell your own story of growth. I know how you feel right now. Maybe English feels too big. Maybe you think you're too slow. Maybe you believe it is too late. I felt the same way. I felt lost, weak, and afraid. But look where I am now. I am speaking to you, sharing my journey, not as a perfect speaker, but as someone who refused to give up. If I could do this, so can you. Your 10 words do not have to be the same as mine. Maybe your 10 words are about your life, your work, your dreams. Maybe they're simple ones like eat, drink, go, come, happy, sad, yes, no, please, thank you. What matters is that they are yours. Choose them, hold them, practice them, because those 10 words are the seed of your English. And from that seed, sentences will grow. When you make your first sentence, you will feel a smile rise inside you. It might be small, but it will be powerful. That sentence will give you courage. And then you will make another, and another. Soon, you will find yourself with 10 sentences, then 50, then 100, and each sentence will carry a piece of you. Each one will tell your story. There will be struggles. I will not lie. You will forget. You will make mistakes. You will feel embarrassed sometimes. You might even feel stupid, just like I did. But remember what I told you. Mistakes are not the end. Mistakes are your teachers. Forgetting is not failure. Forgetting is part of remembering. Feeling nervous is not weakness. It is proof that you're growing. If you keep moving, if you keep speaking, you will find your strength. I want you to picture this moment. Imagine sitting with your notebook months from now. You open it and see 100 sentences written in your hand. Each one simple, but each one strong. You read them, and you realize they are not just sentences. They are memories. They are proof of your courage. They're your story of how you refuse to stay silent. That picture can be real. It can be yours. My friend, I believe in you. I believe that your 10 words can grow. I believe your sentences will multiply. And I believe you will feel the same freedom I felt when I had my first real conversation, when I looked back and saw how far I had come. Do not wait for the perfect time. The perfect time is now. Do not wait for the perfect words. The perfect words are the ones you have today. So take your 10 words. Speak them out loud. Turn them into sentences. Repeat them until they feel natural. Write them, read them, live them. And one day, you will not only speak English. You will speak your life, your dreams, your truth in English. And your voice will be strong. Your 10 words, your 100 sentences, your story. That is the journey waiting for you. And when you take that journey, you will see that English is not too big for you. You are big enough for English. And your story will inspire others, just as mine was meant to inspire you. My friend, you see my journey. From 10 small words to 100 sentences. From fear and silence to confidence and conversations. This was my story, but it can also be yours. Remember, you do not need to be perfect. You only need to start. Small words become strong sentences. Small steps become big changes. Mistakes are not your enemy. They are your teachers. So take your 10 words. Build your first sentence. Repeat it until it feels natural. Do not wait for tomorrow. Begin today. because your English story is ready to grow. Like, comment, and subscribe to continue your English journey with me. Together, we will speak with confidence,